Welcome to Love and Abuse, the show about helping you identify poisonous communication and toxic behavior. You deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. That's why it's important that you learn to pinpoint manipulative and controlling behavior so that you keep your power and your sanity. I'm your host, Paul Coliani. Hello, welcome to the show. Welcome to Love and Abuse. Good to have you here. Just so you know, all the information on this show is meant for educational purposes only. Always seek a professional for your mental health and well-being, and always pick your battles wisely. Let me read you an email from someone who listened to an episode of my show and has a question on it. She said, I just listened to episode 62 twice, and I'm going to tell you what 62 is. That is called Understanding the Addict in the Manipulative Relationship. She says, I'm dealing with a spouse with addiction who also manipulates. All your words ring true, as it now makes better sense to me that the addiction is more important than me and isn't about me. He's using me to fuel his addiction, and I've started to say no. The problem is he's manipulating me to get what he wants by being emotionally abusive toward me. I don't know how to confront him. He gets angry and twists my words. He takes things from my past and uses those things against me to hurt me and to get me to do what he wants. It always ends with me apologizing to the end of the argument. He doesn't want help for his addiction, nor will he admit he has an issue. Is my only option to leave? I've been married over 2 decades. Thank you for your insight. It's always appreciated. Okay, thanks so much for sharing that. And I'm sure some people listening to this can absolutely relate to this question. I'm not going to talk so much about the addiction today, and it's really not going to be a long answer I have, because my question to you comes down to, will you be okay with this behavior for the rest of the relationship? And I'm sure I already know the answer just like you do. But that is the question, and the only question that really comes to mind is, will you be okay with this behavior, what he's doing to you, his manipulations, him using his past against you, and you apologizing every time, and you being manipulated? Will you be okay with that for the length of this relationship? You know, I could ask, will you be okay with it for the rest of your life? But I don't know if you're going to be in this relationship for the rest of your life. That is a decision that you will need to come up with an answer for. But here's the thing, when you know what you're dealing with and you know it won't change, then how many choices do you have? I'm not telling you what the answer is. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just asking you, will you be okay with this behavior? Will you be okay with this treatment? I already know what your answer is. You're saying, no, of course not. I'm not okay with this treatment. I'm not okay with the way he treats me. So my next question is this, even though it doesn't really need a next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. My next question is, knowing for a fact that he will never, ever change, knowing this wholeheartedly 100% that he will never change, do you think it's a good idea to stay with someone who does this to you? This is a hard truth to come to. Whatever you're thinking or feeling right now, it is a very difficult truth. It is a very difficult decision to make. Your whole life has been established and is entangled in what this relationship has become. So I know this is not easy. And I also know when you stay, it's hard. And when you leave, it's hard. I know that for a fact. It's going to be hard either way. And you can continue to stay knowing someone's going to treat you like this and knowing how you feel every time you get treated like this, and knowing how you feel in between the times you get treated like this. I can't imagine you have moments of bliss where you think about your relationship and wonder how you got so lucky. I don't believe you think that way. I'm sure anyone in your position probably wouldn't think that way. You know, my mom was in a relationship with an abusive alcoholic for a good 40 plus years. And she did not want to take the leap. It's a leap of faith. You know, you're jumping into an abyss of the unknown when you've been in a relationship for a long time and you don't know who you are and what life is like without this other person in it. Let alone the foundation that you've established, your home and maybe family and just everything that you've done not by yourself or what's been done for you. For example, my girlfriend, I like her to pay the bills. You know, we share in the bills, but I like the bills to be in her name because she's just so much better with numbers. It doesn't mean I'd be totally helpless without her. I wouldn't want to be without her, but if we were to split up or if something were to happen and she was no longer in my life, I would be lost for a while. I would be scared. It would be a jump into the abyss because now I have to figure out, okay, who was she paying? How do we get our house paid? What do I do now? I would be so lost. And then eventually I'd figure it out. I would have to. This is something that life does for us. It helps us figure things out. That sounds a little new agey, so let me clarify that. Anytime I've been forced to figure something out, I figured it out. This is what happens. You will figure it out. If you decide to leave, if you decide to take the leap of faith, not knowing what's going to happen, knowing that it's scary, knowing that you're stepping into a dark room, you have no idea where the light switch is, and you don't even know if there is a light switch. You're just in this dark room. Now you don't know what to do. Now what? You'll figure it out. You will make it work. You have the capability to do this. It's just a scary step. And I don't really know if you're scared to leave. I mean, you said is your only option to leave. Maybe you're thinking, well, if he says it's a good idea, I'll just do it. I have a feeling that's not it because of what I know about abusive relationships. There's a lot of entanglement. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of trauma bonding where there's love and abuse. And sometimes you get the love and sometimes you get the abuse, and it's ups and downs, and you're just looking for that feeling of love and that feeling of knowing that you're worthy and important to this other person. And then when you don't get it, you feel an entirely different way. You feel down and out. And then you're looking for that loving acceptance and support. And sometimes you get it drip fed to you just like the abuse. And this is what trauma bonding is. This is what this show is about, is that you get drip fed both loving and abusive behavior. My stepfather and my mom stayed together over 40 years. And when he wasn't drinking, he was sweet, kind, supportive, generous. He was so many good and wonderful things. And then alcohol turned him into a very dangerous person, an aggressive person, someone who's very scary to be around, very destructive person. And so my mom, she ended up hating him for many, many years. I mean, I think the majority of her relationship, she hated him. And she was afraid either way. She was afraid of staying and she was afraid of leaving. So she felt stuck. She felt like she couldn't win no matter what. But the way I look at things is by answering the question that I asked, would you be okay with this treatment, with this behavior for the rest of your relationship? Because if you say no, absolutely not, I will not be okay with it, then by staying, you are only inviting more pain and suffering to yourself. because you're resisting what you really want for yourself. This doesn't mean I'm telling you to leave. I'm just putting this in front of you so you can face it head on. I want you to face what you really fear and what you really want. Put it right in front of you. Well, I fear staying and I fear going. That may be what you think. I fear staying, but if I stay, I get more of the same. If I leave, I don't know what's going to happen. And if you don't know what's going to happen and you've been highly dependent on this relationship for whatever reason, even if it's just to have a place to live, then it can be very difficult to make a decision into the unknown and jump into the abyss because it feels like you'll die. It feels like you're jumping into a chasm where you'll have no idea where to land. And this is where some people will rely on faith. Some people will say, I'll just allow whatever to happen, and hopefully I'll be guided through it. Some people rely on that, and some people rely on what I just said. We always figure it out. And that could have to do with a little bit of faith, and that could have to do with just being resourceful creatures. We are resourceful creatures, and sometimes we get into relationships and we end up with people that are also resourceful in other ways so that they can handle things for us, just like my girlfriend handles the bills. Your husband may make the house payment, or maybe he stays at home and you go work and you're making the money. Who knows? But we often have these dependencies that make us feel comfortable because it's easier to keep what we have and keep doing what we're doing than to make any changes, because change is big, it's scary, it's something that when we do it, we're not sure what's going to happen. It's an unknown that we haven't factored into our lives, and we're so used to what's known. This abusive person is so well known in your life, you know what to expect, you know what's going to happen every time, and that uncomfortable feeling of knowing what's going to happen is comfortable because it's a pattern that you know will repeat. And the words, "at least he's not blank," is probably inside your mind somewhere. At least he's not beating me like some couples go through, or at least he's not hurting the kids, at least he's paying the bills, or whatever it is. We find these little justifications that make us feel more comfortable for the decisions that we're making. And I'm not faulting you for any decision that you've made. Sometimes we're in these situations for so long that it's scary as hell. Let's be real. It's scary as hell to make a decision to leave, and what does that mean, and what happens after that, and what are they going to say, what are they going to do? Are people going to think I'm the bad guy? Is my church going to think I'm the bad guy? Are my friends going to take his side? All of that may or may not be true. It's all imaginary right now. It's all stuff that we make up in our mind. We have no idea. We have no idea what's going to happen because we're stepping into the abyss. We're stepping into the darkness. We don't know what's going to happen. But you will figure it out. You will get through it no matter what decision you make. Even if you told me that, you know what, Paul, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out what to do. And if that means XYZ, then it means XYZ. And you know why I would support that decision? Because there's power behind what you just said. I'm pretending to be you. Paul, this is my decision. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick with it. No matter what, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit to it. If you said anything like that, I would say, great. That's what I want to hear. I want to feel that power from you. I want to hear that power from you. I want to know it's inside of you. Because if you told me that you were going to stay, you know what, I'm going to stay in this situation, and I don't care what happens. This is my home, and if he has a problem with it, then I don't care. If you said that to me, then I know that you will also make another decision if you have to. You make the decision to stay and you say, I don't care. This is how it is. This is what I'm going to do. No one can control my life. This is what I'm going to do. And then something happens tomorrow and you say with the same powerful emphasis, I'm leaving. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to stay anymore. I am worth more than this. I love me more than he does. I respect me more than he does. I honor me more than he does. And I'm not going to take it anymore. I would say, great. This is your power. Keep your power. Step into that power and move forward no matter what. As long as you keep your power. And I know that's difficult too. Sometimes it's hard to find that power, but this is where you become adamant in your decision making. You just say, this is what I'm going to do, and I don't care what it takes. I'm going to figure it out. And I'm not here to tell you that every decision that you make is going to be perfect and work out for the greater good. It's not what it's about. That's not what decision making is about. In my opinion, decision making is all about committing to a path, whether you're right or wrong. Now, with hurtful people, you do have to be careful. If he's ever been physically aggressive, you have to expect that physical aggression is going to be part of your future. If he's hurt you physically, you can't just say, I'm going to stick it out, because that could lead to a very dangerous or worse, deadly situation. I don't want you in that situation. You don't want to be in that situation. That's why I asked, can you be okay with this behavior going forward? Because if you can't, it is time to make a decision. I want you to keep your power, and you may feel powerless if you decide to leave. You may feel like, if I leave, I won't know what to do. I will feel powerless. I will feel out of control. And then I would ask you, well, what will you feel if you stay? And the reason I'm asking you these questions is because I need you to access that inner power that you have to be able to make a decision that you know you need to make. It has to come from inside you. You have to feel it. You have to want it. You have to know that no matter what, the decision is going to be hard. And no matter what you decide, don't let anyone take your power. And if you write back to me and say, well, if I stay, I won't have any power, then you already know my answer. If someone is taking your power and there's nothing you can do about it, or you've tried, and no matter what you do, you feel powerless, then it's time to make a decision that gives you your power back. So the question is, what does that look like to you? That's the best I can do for you, because I know this is a very personal decision. I only have a 0.001% snippet of your life in an email, and I can only guess it represents the majority of what you're going through. And because of that, that's why I created this episode and talked to you like this, and I'm hoping that you will make a decision that connects or reconnects you with how you want to feel inside of you. How you want to feel is where your power is. I wish you much strength and healing through this. Share this with others that might benefit. Love and Abuse is the official podcast of the Mean Workbook, an assessment and healing guide for difficult relationships. The workbook provides an evaluation of your relationship based on a 200-point assessment. It's written for romantic relationships, but many have used it to determine if their family or others in their life are being manipulative or emotionally abusive as well. If you're in a difficult relationship and you would like to pinpoint the unhealthy behaviors causing you to leave so many interactions feeling bad, and you want to know what your next steps should be, let the workbook guide you to discover the components of bad behavior and help you make the next best decision for you. Visit loveandabuse.com for more information. If you yourself have been called an emotionally abusive person, or you've learned that about yourself and you'd like to change that behavior, sign up for the Healed Being program over at healedbeing.com. This show exists to remind you that you are not alone and you're not going crazy. You deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. You deserve honesty and sincerity. You deserve to be treated as worthy and significant. Because you are. Thank you for joining me. We'll talk again soon.